Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Bulldozed Cinema. In this episode, we're going to talk about a very strange double feature as well. I think that's going to be a relevant theme for the next few episodes that we have planned out so far. So for this episode, we'll be talking about the U.S. double feature release of Godzilla vs. The Thing and Voyage to the End of the Universe, also known as Ikarie. Was it 83 or 73?
73?
Now I have to actually try get my facts right about that, which I kind of funny because when watching Voyage to the End of the Universe, I was like, why did they change the title? And then I get it. Oh, the original title is referencing the spaceship they're in. Ikarie XB 1. We were way off. So before we get into this, Damien, how do you feel about returning back from our first episode?
Feel pretty good, honestly. First episode was pretty good. I like these movies. I like the movies that we're covering right now.
Same thing as well, although I realized I really had a different opinion than when we watched Godzilla vs. The Thing, which it's retitle. It's actually Mothra vs. Godzilla from 1964.
Because I searched it up on Amazon Prime, and I was like, why don't you see the movie? Where is it? I went on Google, and it was also a different name. I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, you actually tried to search it up as Godzilla vs. The Thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty funny to know. So this double feature is a pretty strange one because one thing is I find it strange because Mothra vs. Godzilla is a very much of an energetic, colorful movie.
Oh yeah.
And then we get to this sci-fi mood piece essentially. It's very existential in a sense. So I'm not sure how that played out in the crowd of 1964, especially the fact at this point the Godzilla movies were getting more geared towards kids. Well,
oh, yeah.
More a younger audience and all that.
I get hella tell too. I was like, dang, this is very kiddish for a Godzilla movie.
So I'm wondering if it was a type of situation where oh, we need a movie for the audience to leave. Voyage to the End of the Universe.
Exactly.
I would mention that the movie did play on its own in theaters besides it being a double feature, but I did find a listing for it, El Paso, Texas, in August of 1965. El Paso, Texas, famous for Manos the Hands of Fate.
Dude, Texans versus Godzilla.
That'd be pretty easy and all that. Texas, all they have is transphobic people and all that. So not all of them, I'll mention. A friend of mine, Kumar, he was boasting about this movie he was planning to make. He's like, yeah, I got people from Texas. I was like, what's there to brag about of a homophobic state?
Yeah, I was about to say, why do you get Texas specifically?
There's some local people that would like a job as well.
The only people in Texas are for movie stuff is voice actors, because in Texas there's a lot of voice acting studios for anime and stuff like that.
There's also the Austin Film Society and also Alamo Drafthouse that came from Texas, I believe. I would have mentioned Ain't It Cool News, but he's Harry Knowles has been ousted. So I don't think anybody wants to bring him up. But in any case, so back to topic. So I guess we could jump into Mothra vs. Godzilla, aka Godzilla vs. The Thing, and we watched the Japanese version. For the American cut of the movie, they actually had a pretty faithful version of it, even though it cut out a few scenes and a few shots here and there, mostly Japanese signs.
We don't want this Japanese stuff in our American dub. Get this out of here.
But the funny thing is that they changed Mothra's name to be The Thing
until
it's revealed it's Mothra. So it's The Thing. What is The Thing?
What is The Thing? And then it's Mothra. Oh my god, it's Mothra!
We're going to get into more of that after we talk about the story here. So the movie begins with this giant rainstorm flooding this area, and now they're trying to not unflooded essentially, and in the area they find this piece of radioactive stuff. They don't know what it is. Meanwhile, a giant egg washes up on another beach, and this is when it gets really ridiculous. A company known as Happy Enterprises buys the egg off the beach. The egg washed up on shore, so we own it.
We own the egg because we're happy and you guys are not. Okay?
Was it the village owns the egg and Happy Enterprises comes in to buy off the egg?
We bought the egg. We own the egg now. We don't care if you guys had it before.
The businessman of Happy Enterprises buys off the egg, and the reporter, played by Kira Takarada, and along with the photographer, which I'm forgetting her name, unfortunately, and they come in trying to figure out the story and all that. And then they eventually figure out that it's actually Mothra's egg, because the small fairies, or the Twin Beauties, that's their official name, they come in...
Twin Beauties, the little short people?
Yes, the little short people. This time you can actually use little people correctly. There are midgets and little people.
Really?
No, I was making a joke and all that.
Oh.
Because, like, the PC term for midgets, it's now little person.
Oh, yeah, little person, yeah.
But why? If I call them midgets, would it hurt their little feelings?
Dude, imagine they were little people, and then they just shrunk them down in the movie too.
What's that like thing in like you know how in dogs you can like breed them to be smaller with selective breeding?
Yeah.
Was it like that thing with like the little beauties where it's like some weird form of selective breeding?
Yeah.
They end up just like somehow like a perfect version of a person, but very small.
Very small. It's like the tiny Hitler. What? The tiny clone of Hitler.
Oh yeah, the only place joke. Back to the topic, but unfortunately they can't convince Happy Enterprises to let go of the egg, and in fact they start incubating it so it hatches faster. Then suddenly, in the beach shore that got flooded from that rainstorm, Godzilla emerges out of nowhere. Emerges out of the sand, to be more specific.
I don't remember that. What the hell?
Yeah, remember he like has to shake off the sand off his body?
Why is bro in the sand?
I listened to the audio commentary, but it's like been like partially a fact, but it's been a few years since I fully listened to it. But I heard there's a fan theory that Godzilla was probably sleeping in the ocean, and when the rainstorm happened, it just like pushed his body into the sand.
Oh, yeah. The rainstorm versus Godzilla.
Which I guess it makes sense because like the previous Godzilla movie, King Kong versus Godzilla, the movie ends with Godzilla falling into the ocean with King Kong, and you don't see Godzilla coming up. So he probably got knocked out real bad, and then like woke up was like, hey, why am I in the sand?
Hey, why am I in the sand?
And why my face looks different from the other movie?
I know. The radioactiveness is reconstructing his face.
Or like Kong gave him like a good punch down the water and all that, and that just like destroyed his face. Okay, so Godzilla emerges and he attacks Nagoya, and of course he does the famous traditional Godzilla thing where he attacks like a Japanese castle, this time being the Nagoya castle. Although like I can't remember if Godzilla tripping against the castle, if that was a mistake or that was actually planned out and in advance. Is like, okay, Mr. Haruo Nakajima, the suit actor of Godzilla, you're going to like step right here, slip and slam yourself against this castle. Okay,
you're gonna step on this little shop, like this little banana shop right here, and you're gonna slip onto the castle.
So the reporter, the photographer, and the scientists and the Twin Beauties, they go to Infant Island where Mothra lives at, which in the English dub they change it to Mothra Island.
Mothra Island.
Although like it does have like a significant like story change because in the audio commentary it mentions that the writer Shinichi Sekizawa, the reason he named Infant Island, Infant Island, was because it just sounded cool.
Yeah, that would make sense too. It's like, I don't know, maybe it's like a small island or something. Do they even know about the existence of Mothra
yes.
before? They do?
We should have mentioned this before. This movie works as a sequel both to King Kong vs. Godzilla, the third Godzilla movie that came out in 1962, and Mothra, which came out in 1961, which we're coming up to the anniversary pretty soon and all that. So, like, in Mothra, that's when they, like, discovered the island as it being radioactive, it having, like, vampire plants and also a giant Mothra egg.
Hey, guys, I think this island's pretty radioactive. Really? How can you tell? His hand turns into, like, bone.
The vampire plants only make appearance for, like, one scene.
The vampire plants.
Well, the funny thing is that, like, even though they appear for one scene, I think they have their own Wikizilla page. For anybody who doesn't know, Wikizilla is like this, it's basically Wikipedia, but just for like these like kaiju films. So like there's separate pages for like the monsters, the movies, the actors, whatnot. The Infant Island we see in the movie is much more different compared to in Mothra, where it's way more barren compared to Mothra because Mothra is like filled with like vegetation like left and right, and it looks really beautiful, but this time it's much more barren. And apparently that's because of budgetary reasons. But they arrive at the island, and the native says, "No, Mothra's not going to fight with you because Mothra is about peace, not about fighting and all that." And so they leave the island, which I should mention at the fact that the natives are in fact Japanese people in brown skin paint
I forgot about that. Yeah.
or red skin paint, depending which one are they.
Do they have feather hats?
Yes.
What are these guys praising Mothra or something? Were they praising Mothra? What were
Yes.
they doing? Yeah. How old is Mothra, like, in the universe of, like, they know she exists?
That's a pretty good question because, like, now I'll rewatch the first Mothra movie and all that because, like, they mentioned that, like, that island is somewhat contaminated with radiation. So, like, everybody's wearing, like, these, like, silver suits. But the thing is, like, Mothra is treated as, like, this ancient, like, type of creature because they have, like, ancient, like, you know, stone carvings about it compared to Godzilla, which is a more of a newer creature in the universe because he was a dinosaur, you know, in the dinosaur period.
Yeah.
And a few of them apparently survived underwater. And then, like, the nuclear bomb blast, you know, blasting them into Godzilla.
What is it? Is Mothra's not radioactive, right?
No.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense then.
So the guy who runs Happy Enterprises, he's backed up by this financier who's not going to give him, like, money and all that for some reason. Because the financier, I think he plans to, like, run off because he has, like, a giant unlocked safe with money. He has a safe that he doesn't keep locked with all of his money in it because I just noticed that because, like, when the guy who runs Happy Enterprises confronts his financier, he beats him up and then runs over to the safe and just quickly opens it.
Bro just has the safe for decoration. He doesn't actually expect anyone to steal all of his money.
I like to keep my door unlocked.
I keep every single door unlocked. None of my doors have locks. So in case somebody needs to come in real quick, you know, taking a poop, sleeping, you know, whatever.
That's literally Canada.
Maybe he keeps his door unlocked in case Mothra or, like, Godzilla shows up.
Yeah, because that's what happens. Godzilla shows up, he kills the Happy Enterprises guy and takes all the money with him. But unfortunately, in an ironic twist, Godzilla smashes the building with his tail. So the guy runs off dead with his money in his hands.
Bro didn't plan for Godzilla, I guess. Bro kept his door unlocked for nothing.
So Godzilla arrives to the beach and he tries to, like, attack Mothra's egg, which, by the way, I forgot to mention the fact that they're building an amusement park around the egg so they could charge people admission to come, like, you know, see the egg.
Bro, you can see it from isn't, like, the egg huge? Like,
Yes.
You can see it from a distance, bro.
If I remember my landscape correctly, I think there's, like, tall mountains where, like, you could literally just go up there with a telescope and just look at it.
For real? Oh my god. Bro, they're charging people like $30 over here to go see an egg that they can see from a good few distance. Like, but do people want to touch it or something?
I maybe, like, poke it, I guess.
Oh, look at it. Oh, mommy, I want to go see the giant egg. It's like $30. $30 per person. I'm not going to go touch an egg.
But, so back to the topic. So Godzilla's about to attack the egg, and then suddenly Mothra appears, and we get the duel to the death an hour into the movie.
An hour into the movie. Yeah. Yeah. Dude, this is the big fight that they were building up to.
Mothra, like, coincides down and I think dies, but the egg hatches two larvae,
yeah.
and they both attack Godzilla left and right with their
Their like cocoon spit.
Yes.
Yeah, because they cocoon him.
And then he, like, falls back into the ocean again.
Ah! I like how that's what got Godzilla. Not like him fighting Mothra or anything. It was just cocoon spit.
From, like, Mothra's, like, presumably children or,
Yeah,
all that, or offspring.
Two little offspring babies just shoot their little stuff at him.
Now I'm thinking about it, I think that's, like, a lucky thing. It's, like, it's twins because in the first Mothra movie, it's just Mothra hatching out the egg. There's no, like, second larvae there. For the two larvae to, like, hatch out and all that, that's, like, pretty cool. Although, like, in the next movie, Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, I think it's just, like, one larvae that appears. So the second one presumably died. Now, we're going to get to the most screwed up thing. Godzilla continuity, which they don't even keep consistent with the filmmakers whatnot. In Mothra, it only takes, like, I think, like, a few days for the larvae to, like, cocoon itself to end up being Mothra. So that means Mothra vs. Godzilla and Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster would have possibly taking place like within days of each other, which I don't think that could be possible because I'm presuming it's takes place in a different setting where like they can't just quickly like restart everything in just a few days, and so suddenly the other larvae comes up and all that.
Dude, I like how they were. You know what's funny to me is that they were just born. Like they were just born, and they knew like, hey, we gotta kill this guy. Yeah, cocoon him. Ah! End of movie.
Yeah, it is the end of the movie. So, what do you think, Damien?
I thought it was pretty good. I think a lot of the people stuff was kind of boring a little bit for me at least. But I thought it was really funny seeing the two little people, and like compared to because like they're so small. They were like the size of the rock that they were like leaning on.
And they like could easily sit on like a tree branch as well.
Yeah, I know. I was when I first saw them on the tree branch, I was like, how small are they? Are they little kids or something?
I think they're like 30 or 60 centimeters, or like just like above a foot in U.S. Measurements. We have international viewers because I noticed with our analytics, most of our viewers are like outside the U.S., so they have the metric system. So I have to be like very specific here.
Like, why was it ever explained why they're so small?
I don't think so, no. They do have magic powers that we could like see and all that. Where
They're
could, like,
the little singing.
Well, the singing, but also like they could like easily like teleport or like transport around. Although they still need like Mothra to like take them back home.
So are they like mythical beings or are they?
Yes.
Okay. Tiny little people that are connected to Mothra somehow.
I'm pretty impressed by the special effects to like have them like be very small.
Yeah, no, it was pretty good. I was like, dang.
It's a combination between like them being composited into the footage. It looks slightly better than like the composited footage in Mothra, because in Mothra you can see the footage is suddenly more grainy. It's kind of like a similar thing here, where it's like there's a bit of a haze around them from the compositing artifact. Even though they had the Oxbury 1200, which at the time was the most advanced optical printer to do those type of shots, and then it costed about 40 million yen.
Oh my god.
Converting it to USD, then inflation, it was over $1 million they paid for this.
Dang. And especially back then, dang, that's crazy.
Yes, Eiji Tsuburaya, the special effects director, he already made successful special effects films for the studio at Toho. He convinced them to buy it for the studio. I do notice is that whenever it's like, if there's like a scene where you can obviously tell it's like a composite shot, usually those shots are like way short, and then the longer shots are like, the live action actors sitting on like a big set.
Yeah.
Small beauties try to meet up with the people at Happy Enterprises. When they're running away, that's a giant couch they're running around with.
Also, Mothra is like huge. How did they do Mothra?
Mothra was in fact huge in person. It was 10 feet long and a 30-foot wingspan.
Dang.
And it was wired controlled. They had people on the gaffers in the studio controlling the wires, whatnot. There also was a small miniature scale puppet. I think only appears whenever it attacks the small miniature scale Godzilla puppet. The small little Godzilla puppet is very out of place because the face just suddenly changes. You have the white shot of the Godzilla suit actor, and then you cut to this like weird looking puppet like turning its head.
I like how the larva too like swims away after they defeat Godzilla. They just go in the ocean like little dolphins, and they start waving goodbye to the larva like they get. Like they can understand the larva can understand them.
Well, I wave goodbye to my dog, so.
Well, the dogs are smarter.
The larvae just destroyed Godzilla. What do you mean? My dog, he would just run away.
I don't know. I think Pitbull is pretty tough.
Yeah, my dog Pimple.
Dude, we should make a fan Godzilla movie. Pitbull versus Godzilla.
That'll be fun. Make Pimple feel like the big dog that he always thinks he is.
Exactly.
Circling back to the human stuff and all that. To be honest, I was pretty engaged with the movie. But the thing is, I think around the 40-minute mark, it kind of like lost me in a sense of the pacing. Like I was really engaged for like the first like 40 minutes. Between the 40-minute mark and the hour mark, there was something going on. I was like, gee whiz, when's Mothra and Godzilla fighting with each other? In comparison to like King Kong versus Godzilla, in that movie, Godzilla and Kong have like 3 rounds with each other, not past the hour mark, but throughout the movie.
Yeah.
After like they unsuccessfully tried to take Kong back to like Japan and all that, that's when like Kong and Godzilla finally encountering each other. But for this movie, like to take really like it's like time to like get to that. I think it's because like I don't find the characters exactly engaging. While watching the movie, I kept thinking back to Mothra and how in that movie the story and the characters they were much more engaging to be with. So you have like comic relief elements in Mothra, but you also have like very engaging characters that you care about, especially in fact when you have like such a great villain like Jerry Ito. But then we have like this movie here where we have kind of this like stereotypical like evil like businessman like
I am evil and my company is named Happy. Because I'm so happily evil.
I think that's the reason why I didn't like the fact I waited an hour for Mothra and Godzilla to fight each other.
I know.
If we get like a smart guy who knows math, maybe this is like we see more of Godzilla and Mothra here than like in the legendary movies. Like we waited an hour for Godzilla and Kong to finally fight each other, or like an hour and a half like for there because how long was Godzilla vs Kong? It was like over 2 hours, right?
Was that 2 hours? Dang.
Yeah, I think so.
It's pretty hard to make the human characters engaging in a Godzilla movie because you're going for Godzilla, you know? I think the first Godzilla does really good with the human characters and Godzilla because it's like Godzilla is like the destructive force throughout the movie, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like he's like, you kind of have to blend Godzilla in because he's like the main threat, you know? And like you feel more engaged with the human characters because they're literally helpless to Godzilla. He's a giant bomb that is just destroying things. Yeah, I feel like in this movie it's just like, oh, Godzilla's there. Then we also got Mothra, but Mothra's like not too bad.
But both of them are pretty far away from where the central core of this is, which is like the egg.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, like I wish the story was like much more better with this one, which is surprising to say because like I hear a lot of people saying that this is like one of the best Godzilla movies of the Showa-era period, or like one of the best Godzilla movies in general. I have to like rewatch the Showa-era because I seen like all the Showa-era Godzilla movies. I seen like a good chunk of the Heisei films, a good chunk of the Millennium films. Saying this is like one of the best Godzilla movies besides, you know, the first one and all that. What does that say with like the other Godzilla movies?
I was about to say like, because this one wasn't, I like it, but I wouldn't say it's like the best. I feel like there's just a lot of lingering with like the human people and the plot and stuff. And then there's only like one fight at the end. It's like, yeah.
Well, there's 2 fights.
Well, there's 2 fights, yeah.
Mothra and Godzilla, then Godzilla versus the larvae.
Because Mothra dies. Does Mothra come back after that?
Yes, Mothra does come back, but I think it's because like the larvae grew
They grew
up.
into Mothra, okay.
Yeah, so after the Ghidorah three-headed monster, after Invasion of Ashra Monster, 1964, which in fact Ghidorah came out in December 1964, as Mothra vs. Godzilla came out in March of 1964. And interesting enough, it actually came out a US within the same year. Because usually with these movies, back then at least, they will take like a few years for them to actually reach over to the US theaters. Mothra finally shows up in Godzilla vs. Sea Monster that came out in, I'm trying to remember, like 66 or 67. Yeah, I remember. There was Son of Godzilla in between Astro Monster and Sea Monster. Then, like in Godzilla vs. Sea Monster, Mothra essentially appears in the last like 30 minutes of the movie. If we're talking about distribution, I guess we can now bring up the English dub of Godzilla vs. The Thing, which we didn't both see and all that, but the whole gimmick of that was that like when American International Pictures, when they bought the rights for the movie, for marketing tactics, instead of just simply calling it Mothra vs. Godzilla, which at the time Mothra was already played in theaters back in 1962 in the US, they called it Godzilla vs. The Thing and tried to keep Mothra's identity a secret. If I remember correctly, I think in the trailers, they were trying to promote, like, what is the thing? Like, pointing at the egg.
What is the thing?
Which I find incredibly funny for them to try to hide the fact that Mothra is in the movie. Because if you look at the lobby cards, Mothra is literally in one of them.
They were just like, oh, wait, we're not supposed to promote Mothra. This is the thing. Who the hell put Mothra in the promotion?
That's weird for American International Pictures because the way they made movies, it was about the marketing first, and then you make the movie.
We need to market this, and then, I don't know what we do after that. We just make a movie, man.
Yes, that's what they did. They will make up a title and a poster design around that title. So, like, that's how we get, like, movies like The Beast with a Million Eyes, Invasion of the Saucermen, It Conquered the World.
Dude, we should start doing that for our movies, Brian. What if we come up with a really cool concept and then we make a poster of it? And then we'll record like fake footage just for like the trailer, and then when the actual movie comes out, it's completely different.
They actually did that with Cannibal the Musical with like Matt Stone and Trey Parker. They shot like a trailer for Cannibal the Musical, and with that, they actually got the money to like make the movie with. David Dakota, he made a whole career about that, where he'll have the poster artwork and then try to sell it to distributors, and they will pay him, and with that money, he will make the movie. But the last one he did was he only got back like $800. And that was like the early 2000s, so like, the film market isn't that great now if we would try to do it. But my point is that it's kind of saying where like AIP, they built their business around the marketing to like sell these movies. Somehow they slipped in with like having Mothra in their promotion when they were trying to hide her identity. The funny thing about this is that like there's another poster, which I actually texted you about because how insane it was. They have the Godzilla fighting the Thing, but they have this giant like censored card over the Thing saying like censored. You won't see this horror until you see the movie. And you could tell like whatever the Thing was, it was this giant creature with these long spiky tentacles coming after Godzilla.
The one poster with the mystery creature, I kind of want to see that on the big screen.
Me too, because like in the Italian release, they actually uncensor it, and you see it's like this giant like Lovecraftian squid.
I want to see Godzilla fight that thing.
That's like a movie on its own.
Yeah, for real. Dude, we should make that movie. I want to see it.
I still want to see this whatever the hell Godzilla was fighting in that Italian poster.
For real. That's like an alternate universe somewhere. We got to go to it and watch that movie.
I wonder how the special effects will play out, because there was a squid monster that Eiji Tsuburaya worked on along with Ishiro Honda, the director of this film. After Mothra vs. Godzilla, they would make Dogura, where in that movie it's about this giant squid creature that comes in and wrecks Japan, and it's somehow intertwined with a mafia's plotline about diamond smuggling.
Bro, what do these guys have to do with the giant monster, man?
But in that movie, how they got Dogura to be in the movie, they actually had this puppet within a tank of water, drag the puppet around so it has that floaty space look to it. So I'm thinking like whatever the hell was that Italian poster, maybe they could do that as like this giant creature is like floating through water in front of a blue screen. On the topic of the US version, there is one exclusive scene in the US version, even though it cuts out like, some footage and all that. The Frontier missile scene, but they actually wanted that scene in the Japanese version. Essentially in the Frontier missile scene, Godzilla arrives at the beach. US warships are like right by Japan, and they're trying to like help Japan by killing Godzilla. Of course, unsuccessfully, because Godzilla just like walks away.
Bro just walks away. Bro doesn't even care.
That scene is pretty interesting because it was only like the few times they actually filmed outside the studio, because usually like of course like with the Godzilla movies they have Godzilla on a studio set. They actually filmed it on an actual beach. They wanted that scene in the Japanese version, but the thing is they were on a time crunch because Toho wanted the movie out for Golden Week, so they cut that scene out of the schedule when it was time to like sell the movie to the US and all. They after the movie came out in Japan, they went back to like film that scene because now they had like the time to do it. The AIP version, that version, I think that's the one that got international distribution because it played in Italy, of course, it played in Germany. The thing is that like in those countries, it actually has a different sound mix compared to the AIP version, because in the AIP version, they like up the ante with the sound effects. So the explosion sounds bigger, the tanks sound louder, the gun blast sounds boom.
The Godzilla sounds scarier.
So yeah, unfortunately, the US version, it's been out print on like home video for years now. The last like legal release of the film was, of the US version, was the classic media like DVD release, which unfortunately crops the movie to be in like 16:9 or 178:1. So you're missing like a part of the frames on the left and right side. They didn't do that with the Japanese version, by the way. They just did that with the US version on the DVD set.
You see like half of Godzilla in like a frame. I can't see Godzilla. There's only half of him. We should make our own fan edit of the movie. Like remove all the humans and then just put the monsters fighting.
That's already an edit. Well, like, they didn't remove all the humans. The movie got re-released a part of the Toho Champion Film Festival line. They cut down the movies to, like, focus more on the action over the human plot. And in fact, Ishiro Honda helped out supervising these, like, edits of the movie. I'm wondering, like, what did they cut out in the Toho Champion Film Festival cut of Mothra vs. Godzilla?
They should make a 3-hour version where they just repeat fight moves, but they flip it so then it looks like different scenes.
That's another movie I could think of. Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires, which I don't think we have on the list for like potential episodes. I have to like look it up again, but like what was the thing? That's a Shaw Brothers Hammer Films co-productions. You know, Hammer Films being famous for their like horror movies like Dracula, Frankenstein. For that movie, when it came out in the U.S., they re-edited it. It's ridiculous to say it out loud now thinking about it. They like flopped the footage to add more of the horror scenes at the beginning of the movie. Then you see it again later in the movie, but it's flopped back in its original version.
Dude, so like Godzilla's like really radioactive, right? Like
Yes.
Like does anybody get sick around him?
Probably not in the later movies because like was it Toho has now like they now say like Godzilla spits out a heat ray, not a radioactive ray.
That man is radioactive, bro.
On the topic of radiation is that there's that scene where they're looking at the radioactive material that they found at that flooded beach, which I think it's now like a piece of Godzilla's skin. When they go to the scientist's lab, they go to this like weird like chamber where they get like blasted like with air, and they're like, we cleanse you off all the radiation. But then like they go back to the radioactive material that they found on the beach, and they open it and they like get close to it with a little like Geiger. It's like, see, radioactive. I was like, come on, man. Like, what's the point you have to get under like a protective casing if you're just gonna like open it and like be right up to it?
You just touched it again, man. Now you got cancer. Again.
To be honest, they handled the radioactive material much better compared to the first Godzilla movie, where the main doctor in the movie, played by Takashi Shimura, he just like grabs the thing and is like, what is this? And
what is it?
And the scientist is like, and the scientist is like, no, put that down. That's radioactive. What are you doing that with your hands? Yeah, Mothra vs. Godzilla. It's not my personal favorite Godzilla movie. I do kind of see the appeal why everybody thinks this is like, a pretty great Godzilla movie. It does have like, great special effects that most of the time do hold up.
Mm-hmm.
I think like the few special effects shots that don't hold up is like the ones with the where you could tell like there's like some weird film artifacts from like pausing shots. So I do see like the appeal, like why everybody thinks like this is like the best Godzilla movie ever. But I think there's like way better Godzilla movies than like Mothra vs. Godzilla. Well, in the Showa-era. We were just talking about the Showa-era period.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Moving on to the next film in the double feature, Voyage to the End of the Universe, also known as Ikarie XB1, came out in 1963 from Czechoslovakia. It was apparently discovered by AIP when they went to Italy for a film festival, and that's when they saw Ikarie XB1. And then they brought it into the U.S. to Americanize it by cutting out 12 minutes, putting it in English dub, and significantly changing the story, and released it as Voyage to the End of the Universe. We watched two different versions of the movie, unlike Mothra vs. Godzilla. You watched the original Czechoslovak version, and I watched the American cut of the movie. So we're going to probably have like two different things saying here. It's like, remember that scene? No, I don't remember that scene.
I don't remember that scene.
In the U.S. version, at least, so everybody's on a mission exhibition to the quote-unquote the Green Planet.
The Green Planet.
And it takes place like thousands of years in the future. In the original version, it was actually Earth they were going to. But
because I saw in the subtitles they were saying Earth.
So they were going to Earth, but in the American version, they try to have it more of a surprise, so they keep referring to it as the Green Planet.
The Green Planet.
They go on this voyage, and on their way there, they find this space station. They firstly call it like a pleasure spaceship, at least in the English.
A pleasure spaceship.
Because they see like people like they have like gambling devices. That's what they call it in the English of it. Like they have gambling devices. But basically they were playing poker right before like they die and all that. But in the ship, they have radioactive bombs or nuclear weapons and all, and they accidentally set them off, and so it blows up two of the crew members, but also like engulfs the ship they're on with radiation, so it makes everybody everybody very exhausted and sick with like a strange illness until they take a 64-hour sleep to like cure themselves essentially. It's like, oh, we're going to hibernate for like the 64 hours. So after the hibernation and all that, one of the guys, Michael, he goes crazy. He's in the opening credits where he's like running around the hallway and all that. It's like, Michael, turn back. We could cure you.
We can cure you, Michael.
Because he thinks he's like affected and he's like everybody's going to like die out. That's until they finally arrive close to the green planet and find out that there's actually life on the planet because they get transmissions from there. And it's real that it's Earth all along. The version you saw, it uses different footage from the US version because in the US version, it uses stock footage of New York. But in the version you saw, it's like a more like industrial version of Earth where it's like very like compact, where there's like buildings left and right.
Yeah.
To be honest, when we decided to like do this movie, I was thinking that I wouldn't know anything about it because like I don't know anything about like Czechoslovakia or like Czechoslovakia movies. I did find out that the movie is based on the book The Magellanic Cloud by Stanislaus Lem, and looking at his Wikipedia, apparently considered as, quote, the most widely read science fiction writer in the world. And to the point that in 2021, the Polish government claimed that the year 2021 was the year of Lem.
The year of Lem?
Yeah, Stanislaus Lem. This movie was apparently a visual inspiration to 2001: A Space Odyssey, which I do see like somewhat of a semblance, mostly like the design of the ship, not too much of the story. Yeah, not thematically. Stanley Kubrick is like, hey, that's a nice design. Let me put that in my movie.
I'm gonna put that in my movie. This movie is pretty... I don't know if it was because of the black and white or something, but like the way it was shot looked very like kind of modern, you know? And then also like visually too, it didn't look old, you know? It looked like it was like trying to be old.
This is like a pretty interesting interpretation. The visuals of the movie, at least, the cinematography and the lighting, they look really great. They're like really like planned out. I just like the movie very on a visual level and all that. Although like I think like sometimes the handheld scenes or the cameras, like the cameraman is just holding the camera, they sometimes look a little off and all that because it's a little bit shaky. But then other scenes, it actually really works out. I was like, wow, it really worked out. And especially the special effects scenes, they really aged well.
I know. I was like, because I was like thinking, like, when did this movie come out? Like, it doesn't look like an old black and white movie because they're shot like very specifically and like they look a certain way because of their age, you know. But this didn't look that old. You know, it looks like they just put a black and white filter over like a modern movie. The
miniature work is really well and all that because like when people have the stereotypical image of like sci-fi movies, they think like miniatures on strings, something like the Flash Gordon stuff and all that. But this one, like something about the camera work on the miniatures as well because like you get like these fast zoom in, zooms out. The spaceship moves like really fast, so it's like really hard to like tell if there's any like wires on it.
I gotta say, like this is the most like visually like impressive movie for the time it came out. When did it come out?
1963.
1963. Yeah. Pretty visually impressive for like that time.
Slightly ironic and all that in terms of like the production design of the film. There's a sci-fi documentary that I watched a few years ago. I forgot what it is. I think it was a TV documentary. They talk about how sci-fi movies back then, before anybody went to space or like before anybody landed on the moon, anytime a sci-fi movie back then tried to be scientifically accurate as possible, they just become very outdated.
Yeah. I think the science fiction of this movie was just like, it was pretty good. It didn't feel outdated to what like a lot of like science fiction like space movies would be like now, especially, you know.
Although, like, it does have, like, a little bit of interesting production design because I remember, like, they have their own, like, gym in the spaceship and all that. And it's, like, this weird-looking, like, science fiction gym. Yeah, I, like, really love the visuals. I especially like the story because it felt very much like a Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah, no.
We're slowly realizing the fact, well, not probably the version you saw, the original version, where it's very, like, you know, it's very like upfront, like it's the future, and they're going to Earth.
Future.
But in the American version, it's not that upfront, and it's like we're going to the green planet. This spaceship is 2,000 years old, and these are gambling devices. I find like the spaceship they go up to that has the the nuclear weapons to be like a little bit interesting because it reminded me how in 2001 A Space Odyssey, when you see the first spaceship after the monkey throws the bone up in the air and it cuts to the spaceship, that spaceship is actually a spaceship with a nuclear missile ready to launch. You don't know that when you watch the movie. You have to actually read the script because the script has like deleted narration that they never recorded.
This spaceship has a nuclear missile. Well, thank you for telling me.
Which kind of harvers back to like 2001, inspired by this movie and all that. But I'm not sure if R.C.C. Clarke saw this movie and like, put that sort of input. Or maybe Kubrick saw the movie and suggested R.C.C. Clarke to like, put that into the story. Although I do find the movie like somewhat slow, more towards the middle after everybody starts getting a little bit more exhausted. But it really does pick up towards the end. And 2001 comparison, there's this YouTube video doing like visual comparisons and all that. It's sometimes a little far stretched. The TV phone call or like the video call in 2001 was taken from this movie where they have like a video call, but like the video image takes up the entire wall.
Yeah, no, it's just like a giant projector.
And you can see the film grain on it as well.
I know. I was like, okay, that looks a bit outdated because you can hella see like the film grain and stuff. It just looks like a projector.
Mm-hmm.
Bro don't have no fancy equipment. He just got his old projector he had had under his bed.
They mail delivered like a film print. Wasn't it Interstellar where it takes like years to like send messages?
Does it?
The theory is that the further you go away from space, the longer it takes to like send in like wireless messages and all. So maybe it took so long. It took like 2,000 years to like send in like a film reel and all that.
You know what they should do? They should just make a long wire so it gets sent faster.
The funny thing about that video call that takes to the wall, it actually reminded me more about Back to the Future, weirdly enough, because in Back to the Future Part 2, they have a video call, but it's on a giant like flat screen TV. So I was like, oh, this reminded me more of Back to the Future Part 2 than that video call in like 2001 A Space Odyssey. The science fiction idea of video calls wasn't exactly new when Voyage to the End of the Universe came out. Another like comparison was in the movie, there's a whole like plot line that one of the characters on the ship is pregnant, and it's the first time in history where someone actually tries to give birth on a spaceship and all that. And it's like a weird thing because one of the main characters, who has that video call with his wife, she was rejected from coming up in the mission with them. It's something about her being pregnant. It was revealed something that I think she was like too scared to like, even go on the ship. And then finally, towards the end of the movie, the girl on the ship finally gives birth, and everybody's like really happy about that. So they try to compare the part of the movie where we see the baby being born right when we arrive to the green planet or Earth as the baby at the end of 2001 is Space Odyssey, and it has thematic elements similar to that.
It's the baby.
I don't see it in the US version. I do in fact see it in the original version. In the US version, when they have that dramatic scene where they're like staring into the window and trying to see the Earth. It's just like the characters' reactions. But in the original version, I actually just skimmed through it. Like there's a quick cutaway to the baby right before you see the image of Earth. So I was like, okay, I see the thematic elements maybe in the original version, but I don't see that in the US version. And most likely Kubrick would have seen the US version unless this was Kubrick when he already moved to Europe or something. This is one of the issues I have with the story. They make a plot point saying the girl is pregnant on the ship. At least in the U.S. version, I'm not sure if it's different in the version you saw, but they don't really follow up on that until the end of the movie where she gives birth. It's so when everybody's exhausted, I was like, gee, I'm in distress here on my chair thing. Gee, I hope that girl who's pregnant is okay. Except the funny thing about the science accuracy of this film, I think there's something scientifically not correct with that. When you're in zero gravity, which in the movie they're not in zero gravity, I'm presuming science fiction reasoning, we have zero gravity controls in the spaceship and all that, so nobody's just floating around and everybody could use the toilets perfectly fine.
you can't force a poop when you're in zero gravity, right? So it's
No,
like
you can. But the thing is that there's no way stopping it from like floating around. The thing also is that like when you pee, you have to like put something up against your private region so the pee goes directly into the tube and not just like floats around in space. In this movie, there's zero gravity control and everybody goes to the bathroom fine. But I'm like thinking here,
the bathrooms have zero gravity control.
in 2001: Space Odyssey, there's a somewhat of a joke scene. There's an entire like instruction manual you have to read before you use the bathroom. And there's like 14 points and all that on how to use like the bathroom in 2001: Space Odyssey. The thing is, so it's like zero gravity does something with your bones and like the blood flow. So I think you become slightly weaker when you get back to Earth and also weigh less.
Yeah, because I remember those astronauts when they came back to Earth when they were like in the satellite for a long ass time. When they came back, they immediately like stumbled on their legs because of the gravity.
Yeah, so that's why I'm like thinking like the maybe giving birth in space is kind of like a very unrealistic like thing and all that. Well, it's realistic if it's like on another planet when gravity is much more controlled, but I'm not sure about like zero gravity baby and all that.
Zero gravity baby, that baby gonna be weak as hell.
Well, you saw the soundtrack of the film.
Soundtrack was pretty good.
Yeah, I was very surprised. Like the soundtrack appears in both versions of the movie, so I really like it, especially like in the opening credits where it's like, and then you have like that grand orchestral like track when they see Earth for the first time. Although like seeing both versions, in the American version, it feels like it's more of a upbringing type of ending, but in the Czechoslovakia version, it feels more of a I'm trying to figure out words. It doesn't feel that upbringing, but it's very like dramatic. It's like we're seeing Earth for the first time and all that. It's like, what could it be? What could it be? Yeah, so I find the ending to like pretty interesting as well. The original Czechoslovakia version, it is available on the Criterion channel for anybody to watch, and there is like a recent 4K master that's been floating around. But the US version, it's unfortunately out of print. It's not preserved well, which makes me concerned about any other like US cut of a foreign film that AIP did. MGM bought the rights to the AIP film catalog, at least most of the AIP films, if there's nothing like a weird legal issues from my call. Several years ago, they did a screening of the movie from the last like 35mm theatrical print, and it actually like it teared apart in the projector. I don't know, like I don't know how you would I feel if I like destroyed one of the last remaining like 35mm prints of a movie.
Just casually doing that.
I have to like link the post here on that story, but like also like another thing where like with the missing frames, they just like framed it as well as souvenirs and they put the print back into the archives. There's a reconstruction out there you can find online by Sidney Perkins or Parkins. I think it's like Perkins, if I remember correctly. They did this like reconstruction of the film. The main 2 points of conflicts of that reconstruction is that like the US and opening credits scene, that there's not a full copy of those scenes in widescreen, and they had to like reference back from like 3 16mm prints for like the audio, I'm presuming, because if you watch the reconstruction of the opening scene of the US version, it like switches back aspect ratios multiple times, because like there's not like a full widescreen copy, but like there happened to be like cropped version of the widescreen version. So it's like, oh, it's widescreen. Oh, it's 4:3. Oh, it's back to kind of widescreen. Oh, it's back to 16:9. It's back to 4:3. It's back to widescreen again. So yeah, it's pretty unfortunate that the US version in that state as is, at least like besides the ending where it cuts to like New York stock footage, at least you could see the US version in pretty good quality and all that, because it's like edited from like the Czechoslovakian like HD master. But yeah, Blu-ray release win.
The vinyl release win.
Oh yeah, the vinyl soundtrack.
Let's get the
that would
vinyl
actually be a
soundtrack.
pretty good, neat release and all that. I think there is like a US DVD release, but I think there's only like foreign Blu-ray releases of the original version.
I don't know, I didn't really fuck with the plot too much, I think, but I thought visually, like a lot of the shots and stuff, I thought it was pretty cool. Yeah, and I like the soundtrack. Other than that, like, yeah, the plot wasn't too interesting to me.
I like the story and all that. It's just like maybe if the writing was a little bit more better in the middle section of the film, but I generally like the story because it does feel like a feature length version of a Twilight Zone episode. I really like the vibes of the film itself, and like how moody it is, which is so funny for this to play with Godzilla versus the Thing, because like Godzilla versus the Thing, as we said in the opening, is a very much of a like an energetic movie.
Oh yeah.
And then you cut to Voyage in the Universe is like existential, like dread, moody type of science fiction film in black and white as well.
I'm in black and white.
At this point in time, the color films were being like a little bit more common, but they were still like making black and white movies. Most often than not, it was more of a financial decision to like make movies in black and white. Although like some filmmakers, they will like hold off from like making movies in black and white because like there were so many different like color film stocks at the time. You know, you had like Fujifilm, Eastman Color, Technicolor. Some of these filmmakers, they couldn't really like trust color in a sense, so they stuck with black and white until like the color film basically like sorted itself out. How do you think audiences would react to this movie, especially when the Godzilla films were like more geared towards kids? Do you think kids would just be instantly bored by this movie?
Probably. If my little brain was kind of bored for most of it, I think they would probably be bored.
I guess like unless you're like a sci-fi movie kid and all that read Famous Monsters of Filmland, I think you probably will dig this movie. Especially like, if you have been a fan of Twilight Zone, I guess you could have been a fan of this movie when it came out in U.S. theaters. But yeah, it's like it's really hard to see how audiences reacted to like, you know, seeing both of these movies like back to back with each other.
Seeing these movies back to back, being a little kid, you're just like, oh, it's Mothra, it's Godzilla. Oh, stop! Oh no! Existential dread, a baby's first horror. Oh no, I'm in space, it's so scary.
And everybody's getting sick from radiation.
Oh no, they're dying.
Yeah, because this is also like a point where like the nuclear war was about to happen. They have bunkers, they already have the nuclear plants set up and all that. The Cold War is on high. So I'm presuming if you're a kid and you're hearing your parents like talk to other adults about this, and then you see this movie and it just like gives you like existential like dread.
Timmy's not becoming no astronaut no more. He's gonna be afraid of radiation.
For some reason, like I got the visuals of that. Someone did an artistic illustration of this kid going to watch the Digimon movie. Oh, David knows what I was about to talk about. And suddenly it cuts to the next panel, and his eyes are in horror of looking at the Angela. Is it Angela? The weird kids show, the Canadian kids show that's like Angela.
I think so.
Angelica or whatever. But basically, it's like for some reason everybody has like white out bodies and like beady eyes, and this kid like looks in horror of into that as his parents are like complaining to each other. And that's how we get Angela got my parents divorced me. just fit that into like Voyage to the End of the Earth.
Bro's gonna go to bed tonight thinking of space, and he's gonna get radiation poisoning.
Yeah, but overall, it's like a somewhat a pretty enjoyable feature. Although, like, this is not like, if it was me, I wouldn't put these two movies together. I would try to like find something else, like, you know, something like another Godzilla movie to go with it, or like maybe something with the same vibes, not like a moody space piece.
Have you seen that one analog horror series, The Man in the Suit?
No. People have told me about it. I have not seen it. You know, I don't think that's something I would like be into and all that.
Yeah, it's just a little internet thing. People be making shit.
It's like Jeff the Killer and all that.
Yeah, Jeff the Killer.
I'm deep in 14. Wait, no, no, I'm 14 and I'm deep.
I'm 14 and I'm deep. I'm 14 and this is deep.
Oh,
yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
Deep into the blood and bones of trenches of 9/11. You ever heard about that? He had to go, like, when he was 14, he was deep into the blood and bones of trying to find his lost brother in the Twin Towers demolition of 9/11.
The Godzilla versus the 9/11 attacks. That should be, somebody should make that a fan
Godzilla
movie.
just smacks the planes away.
Just smacks it away.
Oh wait! What if it's like a joint like a mission between Godzilla and Mark Wahlberg? Because have you seen that interview where like Mark Wahlberg says if he was on the plane that 9/11 happened, he would have stopped the terrorists.
Oh, dude.
Mark Wahlberg and Godzilla unintentionally working with each other and all that. There's this meme I saw where like this character time travels back to September 10th, 2001. He's like, "Oh, I'm finally here. Now I could tell everybody about COVID-19."
I love the memes where it's like me traveling back to September. When did 9/11?
It's September 11th.
September 11th.
You dummy? It's 9/11.
I forgot. Me traveling back to September 10th, 2001 to warn everybody about like there's like multiple versions. There's like trying to remember one specific one.
The 2008 housing crisis.
Yeah.
That's what I would do. Is like, guys, you gotta figure out your stuff up. There's going to be a housing crisis that would like bankrupt Borders books. There's also going to be COVID-19, so y'all gotta put all your money into medicine. Or what if like is the new 9/11 plan is like, you get the pilots to be sick that day, or you're trying to like ruin the pilots' careers of like being stuck in traffic.
It's so funny to me too how many like celebrities and like other famous people were about to be on that plane, like Seth MacFarlane.
The funny thing of mentioning all this, when I was watching Voyage in the Universe, I was thinking about that final two shots of New York, and I think it was like filmed right before the Twin Towers were built. So I thought, oh, maybe like to like make your science fiction movie more outdated, if you go back. Like, let's say the movie was made, like, 10 years later in the 70s, and, like, they go back there, and it's like, here's the Earth, and it's, like, the same is the shots of New York, but this time the Twin Towers are more prominently shown, and it takes place, in 2100 or 2200. It's like, oh, no, it's an alternate universe where 9/11 never happened. Okay, so besides 9/11, I guess we had, like, an enjoyable, like, double feature experience, whatnot.
we just went off about 9/11.
I'm just imagining, like, was it, the time sense? It's going to be, like, Godzilla versus the Thing, Mothra versus Godzilla, Voyage and the Viewers, then 9/11, then outro.
This is an interesting conversation.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening and all. In the next episode, we'll be reviewing two movies that also like fitting the theme of strange double features. Hunters of the Golden Cobra, which features David Warbeck, and it's a Indiana Jones ripoff made right after Raiders of the Lost Ark came out. And then we're going to be watching The Bot Squad, aka Virgins of the Seven Seas, aka Enter the Seven Virgins, also known as Shogun's Warlord, a West German sex comedy / martial arts movie co-produced by West Germany and Shaw Brothers from Hong Kong.
That will be very interesting. Make sure to tune in.
Yeah, that will be like a pretty like strange experience and all of that. Hope you all enjoyed this episode. Damien, how do you feel about recording about this?
I am John F. Kennedy. I really like this episode. This was fun.
But in any case, so that's all the episode of the Bulldozed Cinema.